Now, if you're a huge MLB fan, you know yesterday was the deadline for players and teams to decide what the salary, if you're arbitration eligible, what the salary is going to be for the upcoming season. Now, this is the deadline. This is where they have to decide, hey, you're going to get paid this salary. And if they, both the team and the player cannot come to a decision, that's when they go into arbitration. Now, there was a lot of people that were getting signed. They were getting what they wanted. People like Randy Arozarena, people like Taylor Ward, people like Jesus Luzardo. They actually got an agreement. They settled with the team and they don't have to go into arbitration. Now, you can't say this for a lot of other teams. People like Isaac Paredes, people like William Contreras, which hurts, you know, I'm a Brewers fan. People like Vinny Pasquantino, they did not come to a decision and now they have to go into arbitration. But there is a gap where they can probably settle this before it gets to that point. But as of now, there's no deal on the table and they're far off. But the biggest one that beyond shocks me, and it shocked a lot of people, was what is going on with Tarik Skubal. Now, if you're a huge MLB fan, I'm pretty sure you know that Tarik Skubal is one of the best pitchers in the last 2 years. Of course, the Cy Young speaks for itself, not only once, but twice. But the shocking thing is the huge gap that they have in between. Tarik Skubal thinks he's worth $32 million. And the Detroit Tigers think he's worth $19 million, which caused a huge gap to the point where it's the biggest gap when it comes to arbitration in history, which is not great. But yes, today we're going to talk about the future of Tarik Skubal, the future of the Detroit Tigers. Anyways, roll the thing. Hold on. If you like MLB content, what are you doing? What are we doing here? If you guys can do me a huge favor, subscribe, comment, like, tell me, give me some suggestions on what you guys want to see next. Anyways, let's roll the video. So officially, Tarik Skubal and the Detroit Tigers did not end up coming to a settlement and an agreement on what the salary for the 2026 season is going to be. This does not necessarily mean that it is completely over and they can't come to a decision. They still have from now until the arbitration date to decide or to have communication, have a conversation and see if that they could come to a deal. But that most likely is just not gonna happen, and it's just not a realistic option because unfortunately, the Detroit Tigers made a little history with Tarik Skubal on being the largest gap ever. They have a 13 million gap. I'm telling you, Tarik Skubal came and said, hey, I'm worth 32 million. The Detroit Tigers said, no, you're worth 19 million. With this probably not ending up being settled before arbitration, this is most likely going to go into arbitration, where if Tarik Skubal does end up getting the 32 million, he's going to cause a lot of records. And I do believe he's going to cause a lot of things and differences for the future when it comes to being paid in arbitration for pitchers and also players. Now, if you look back, the highest paid pitcher was David Price, which was actually a pitcher for the Detroit Tigers as well. He was the highest paid pitcher in $19.75 million in 2015, but the person that holds the longest and highest amount of agreement being paid for 1 year was Juan Soto back in 2024 when he was in the Yankees, that being $31 million. So this being said, if Tarik Skubal goes into arbitration and they side with him, he's not only going to be the highest paid ever pitcher in arbitration for 1 year, he's also going to be the highest paid player ever, because Juan Soto was only 31 million. Tarik Skubal's looking for 32 million in total. Now, when you look into it, this is the third year that Tarik Skubal has had arbitration, or has had the option of arbitration, but this is the actual first time that they're actually going to go move forward and go into salary arbitration. The past 2 years before that, in the 2024 season, the 2025 season, they did come into an agreement to avoid arbitration. Last year, they ended up agreeing with 10.15 million, and this was with a Cy Young already in the hand of Tarik Skubal. Now, I've been looking around. It's been 50-50. People are saying, hey, 19 million is valid because he's going to be one of the highest paid pitchers, not the highest paid pitcher, because once again, if you look at back in 2015, you look at David Price, he's the current person that holds it at 19.75 million. And you look at Juan Soto, he holds it at 31 million. So there hasn't been a specific pitcher that has had high numbers that Tarik Skubal is asking for. So people are saying, hey, well, there's no pitcher out there that has ever gotten 32 million. There's a batter that's gotten it, but not a specific pitcher. Now, I'll be honest, I'm in the other side. Tarik Skubal has came out the last 2 years, has gave a Cy Young the last 2 years, he very much deserves the $32 million. He has shown absolutely crazy numbers. He has looked fantastic. He is the ace of the Detroit Tigers. He has 2 Cy Youngs. He has proved that he is worth the money, and to a certain point, he is worth breaking this record that David Price holds, that Juan Soto holds. Now, what will this mean for the future of arbitration? This most likely means that teams are going to have to pay more when it comes to pitching, and when it comes to paying other players when it comes to batting, because Tarik Skubal would be breaking records, Juan Soto's record, David Price's record, which would be an insane amount of numbers if if he does get cited during arbitration, because they are going to go to arbitration. And I doubt they will come to a decision, but it will be very much beneficial for them. It would be beneficial for the Detroit Tigers and Tarik Skubal to have a healthy relationship for the last year of his contract. It would be healthy for them to come to a decision before it gets to arbitration. But if he does end up going to arbitration, it's going to be very interesting to see who gets what and who sides with who. Now, Tarik Skubal could very much just walk in there with both his Cy Young trophies and say, hey, I've done it 2 years in a row. I deserve the $32 million. I mean, in general, he's just been insanely lights out. You look at 2024. He was 27 years old. He had a 2.39 ERA with a whip of 0.92. Now that was a great year. He comes back next year and has an absolutely even more fantastic numbers, coming out with a 2.21 ERA. This is his age 28 year, and a whip of 0.891. The numbers show, the Cy Young shows that he is worth the $32 million. Now we're talking about arbitration. You know, the Detroit Tigers, they don't want to pay what Tarik Skubal wants, right? But this isn't the only and first time that they have had huge gaps when it comes to talking to money. Now, one of the biggest lines being talked about this year is how Tarik Skubal, after the 2026 season for the MLB, he's going to be a free agent. And the Detroit Tigers have tried to get an extension, but the reports have always said that the Detroit Tigers are just very far off when it comes to the money. That they're not even close to what Tarik Skubal's asking, and the offers that are being given to Tarik Skubal are quite crazy when you're talking about the double Cy Young winner. The money gap is not there. You're talking about arbitration. It's not there. There's a huge gap. When you talk about contract extensions, there's a huge gap. They're nowhere near close to what Tarik Skubal wants and what the team is actually offering him. Now, this is when you start thinking, hey, this might lead to a huge frustration when it comes to the relationship, because it's always and has been the last few years about the money. It's not been there. The Detroit Tigers have not been providing fair offers to Tarik Skubal on what his worth is. And it's just making a messy relationship, which leads to the next point. What is going to happen during the 2026 season? Now, the Detroit Tigers were very much competitive last year. The team looked good. They had a really competitive series before they got eliminated against the Seattle Mariners. Now, that being said, the Detroit Tigers have made an effort on remaining competitive, because once again, they were one series away from getting into the World Series. Mariners, unfortunately, well, Mariners are a great team. The Mariners did end up eliminating them, and it was the game where they went 15 innings deep, and I was awake till 1 a.m. and I had to go to work the next day, which was crazy. But yeah, so the Detroit Tigers were one series away. So necessarily, you know, they have to try to remain competitive. You would think they would try to remain signing people, which they have been quite successful. They did re-sign Gleyber Torres. They also ended up signing Kyle Finnegan, which is great. He's a great relief pitcher, which is great for the Detroit Tigers. So that's another great re-sign there. So they have put some efforts, but they haven't went above and beyond to the point where they're signing other free agents. Now, getting your ace frustrated with the contract situation and that being his last year makes you think, what are they going to do with Tarik Skubal? Are they going to continue to keep him, which I believe that they will. They will keep him and see where they're at with the deadline. He would be a name to be mentioned during the deadline, because once again, this is his last year. They could either trade him away, which I don't think is going to happen, because once again, the Detroit Tigers were very much competitive. They're not going to trade their ace away. So I think they reevaluate on the deadline. If the Detroit Tigers are not competitive in the series, that's when they will move apart. But once again, you not moving on from Tarik Skubal at this point in time is just gonna give you less value for him, because when it comes to the deadline, at that point it's teams that are fighting for a World Series, and it's a rental. He is going to be there for the next month or 2 months, 3 months, however long you have him signed. But the value is just not going to be there, because once again, he's a rental, he's a free agent, he will walk. It's not a guarantee that they will get signed, that player will be signed, or if Tarik Skubal is going to remain with the team. So at that point in time, the Detroit Tigers will not get the same value that they will get if they trade him today and now. So overall, it's going to be quite interesting when you think about the future of the Detroit Tigers after this season, or not necessarily the future, but what's going to happen this specific season. Once arbitration is over, I'm just very interested to see if the Detroit Tigers, they trade him away, they trade Tarik Skubal away, or they keep him till the trade deadline and maybe possibly trade him there. So it's going to be quite a few interesting next few months, next few weeks on seeing what the Detroit Tigers are going to do, because if they do end up keeping Tarik Skubal, you would assume, hey, let's go out there and get a batter. Let's be a little bit more competitive, because once again, you look back one series away from the World Series. The team was really good. They were successful. They did end up breaking and, you know, struggling before the end of the regular season. They were struggling to get into the actual playoffs when they were doing really well during the middle of the season, but they were still really competitive. They looked really good when it came to the playoffs. So it's going to be very interesting what happens in the next few weeks, months. And I guess we'll just have to sit down and see what happens. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. If you guys can do me a huge favor, subscribe, like, comment, let me know what you want to see next, because once again, I do enjoy doing these types of videos. I'm here for the next future years. As long as you guys continue to like these videos and show love, I will continue to post and, you know, have fun with them. Anyways, have a great rest of your day, guys.